What is up, DMV Hoops fans? Welcome to another Believe in DMV Hoops. I'm Matt Moderno, and with me today is new Mount St. Mary's head coach, Donny Lind. Donny, thanks for coming on the show here. Congratulations. I'm excited for you, and should be fun.
Thanks, Matt. Happy to be here.
Before we get going, everybody, as always, brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside Hard Iced Teas, Hard Lemonades. They're all delicious. And BetOnline. It's your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, UFC, tennis, NBA playoffs, everything you can think of. And BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to place all your wagers on your favorite casino and card games. Head to the website or use your mobile device and use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. So you're coming over from UNC Greensboro, had a really good year this year. I think why Mount St. Mary's? I got to imagine you had some other opportunities and things like that. I know you worked here in the past, but walk us through why this move, why this program.
Yeah, it's a special place, the Mount. Having worked here, you realize really how unique it is in today's college basketball landscape. So when the opportunity came open, it really wasn't hard for me to think, man, I should probably go after this. I don't think I appreciated as much how cool and how special the Mount is until I left. And went to other, mid-major schools that maybe are in a larger town or have more resources, but don't have the same support. And so then you get, you think back so fondly on the time I spent here. And then, so when the job opens, it's like, okay, that's a place that loves basketball, cares about basketball, wants you to be successful. And then you meet Brad, the new AD, and, kind of hear his vision. And you're like, okay, I think that meshes pretty well.
That's awesome. I think, first of all, I really like Mount St. Mary's. I think it's a beautiful area. It's a cool gym. It's not Hawaii. It's not San Diego State. So guys are not coming there to, for the beautiful scenery to be near the beach. If someone's coming to Mount St. Mary's, they're serious about being there to be in a good community and to play basketball and to get a good education. Is that actually a plus in recruiting that, hey, like we're weeding out a certain kind of guy here that might be, in it for the wrong reasons or whatever?
Yeah, it's all about qualifying your prospects, right? Whether you're in sales or whether you're in
Sure.
recruiting, you need to figure out who are the right people for you.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mount has some unique characteristics. And so it helps us in that. We can quickly get through, there's a lot of really, really good basketball players in the DMV within, within 3 hours of campus.
Sure.
There's a lot of really, really good basketball players. And so it's about figuring out which of those ones fit. And so we have things, if somebody wants to go to school in the city, it's a really quick phone call, right? I'm not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
And so, you got to use what you have, but that's the same way at any school, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, the Mount does, I think, have some really, really great advantages. We can really help you focus on basketball and getting your education here. And I think that's an advantage. It was when we were here before. And, we had great success, and we had really, really good players who bought into the Mount community, bought into the idea that, hey, you're here to get a degree and you're here to play really, really good basketball. And we're going to keep those two things the main thing and not let other stuff get you distracted. And we're going to sell, a very similar vision to that here with recruits.
I think even just coming to like an exhibition game before last season, like it's the community turns out, for the team, especially when it's good, which is kind of a typical DMV thing, I think. So there's fan support. It's not, like you said, it's not far from the DMV. So if you get local players, it's drivable and accessible for their families and friends and things like that. And, you've been there before, you've recruited there before, you've got the familiarity. You mentioned the DMV. Is that part of the appeal of coming back to a school like this, is the recruiting landscape nearby and where to get players and what kind of players you can get locally and stuff like that?
Yeah, it definitely adds to it. There's a level of familiarity that made it a more appealing job to go after, but also I think made me a more appealing candidate for the Mount.
Yep.
The Mount is a place that is unique.
Sure.
It does have quite a tradition and quite a history, but there's also things that there's a learning curve for a new coach. And I think I can get ahead of the game on some of that stuff and help us be better sooner. And so I'm certainly going to leverage that. I'm going to leverage the relationships that I've built over the past 15 years of coaching, and a lot of it being within a few hours of the DMV. And so we know a lot of people here. We can continue to recruit a lot of really, really good student athletes here. But in today's day and age, you got to get good players no matter where they're from. And so we're certainly going to cast a wide enough net to make sure we're getting the type of players we need. But if we could have a team that was entirely based out of guys that are within 4 hours of here, I'd love it. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I think it would certainly, the fans would love that. They'd be able to, find guys that they connect with and can support. So, it's a good balance.
We try to focus on the local teams here with this show, and I've had people say to me before, "Well, Mount St. Mary's isn't the DMV," but it's DMV adjacent, and it's something that you can get to in an hour and see really cool, good basketball. And I think that's hopefully the takeaway from people listening to this that haven't made it out to a Mount St. Mary's game before. But from you, what's the sales pitch for somebody that hasn't seen a Mount St. Mary's game before? Why should they be coming out to check out the program?
Yeah, the Mount is a fun place to watch basketball. There's the history and tradition here, starting with Coach Phelan, has invigorated this community to love basketball. Like you said, you can come to an exhibition game, or you can come to a game over Christmas break when the students aren't even there, and there'll be 2,000 people going nuts in that arena, and it's loud and it's a good time. And we're going to play a fun and exciting style. I think that'll engage even a wider base. And, we're going to be really, really good and competitive. And the move to the MAC, now all of a sudden you're playing against really, really good mid-major teams. You've got teams that have perennially been success, that have won games in the NCAA tournament. And so there's a lot of good basketball up here. There's a lot of really, really talented players, and we can put it all together. And I think it's a good time for people coming out and looking to watch some good hoops.
A lot of times you hear about coaches, oh, he's a defensive guy first or an offensive guy first. I think for you, looking through your background, you've kind of had impact on both sides of the ball here. So what kind of coach are you for new Mount St. Mary's fans listening to this?
I'm a player's coach first and foremost.
Yeah,
The program is about them. And my job here is to serve them and to help them become the best that they can be any way I can. I'm going to build great relationships with them and my staff as well. We're going to work our butts off so that they can become what they want to be as players and as people. As far as X's and O's wise, I grew up seeing the game offense first.
Okay.
I think that's, you say somebody's an offense coach or a defense coach. It's like, when you first turn on the TV and the game's on, who are you looking at? You look at the guy with the ball or the guy guarding them. And so I grew up thinking offense first, and pretty much up until I got with Coach Jones at Radford, I was pretty locked in to we're just going to try to score, one more point than the other team. Sure. And then I got to Radford, and Coach Jones taught me that you can also win by giving up one less point than the other team. Yeah. And I've really grown to appreciate, especially half-court defense, and how if you defend and rebound, you can have a chance to win every night. There's going to be nights that you're not making shots. There's going to be nights that you turn the ball over maybe a little bit more than you want to. But if you defend and rebound, the other team is going to struggle to score, and you'll have a chance those nights. And so I think I've become, pretty well versed and have a good mix of both sides of the ball. I think the pressure defense that, we learned at VCU with Shaka when I was there, I love that. It was my first introduction to college basketball. And so it has really left an imprint on who I am as a coach. And then, as I've grown and developed, I think, some fast-paced offense that we, similar to how we put some of which we played here when I was here the first time. And then, if we can be as good in the half court as we've been at Radford and Greensboro the last 8 years, I think we got a chance to be pretty good. But, it's hard to do all three at once.
You stole my next question, Coach. That's literally what I was going to ask, if there were certain things you'd cherry picked from, previous coaches. And I think that's kind of how it works, right? Like, you find the things you like from what they do and kind of make it your own. And you mentioned Shaka's going to play the pressure style, and Jamion kind of like to push the pace on people, and Coach Jones, control the defensive boards. And I think you see the teams that win in the NCAA tournament are doing like a little bit of those things, right? You got to control the boards, but you have to still score the ball. And I think controlling pace is like a really underrated thing. And people think of the press about getting steals and things like that, but it's really forcing people to play the tempo you want to play. I've heard you say so far that you want to play an up-tempo style. Any more insight you can give us on that, just for sort of like a stylistic thing or other things we can kind of expect from your teams?
Yeah, I want our team to be the aggressor on both sides of the floor. I think that, there's a lot of luck that goes into winning college basketball games at the end of the day. And I think that if you're the more aggressive team, you have a better chance of being lucky. Okay. And so if we can be aggressive defensively, if we can, force people to be more tired than we are, if we can force them into, tired mistakes, then we got a chance to get some easy baskets. If we can push the pace on offense and, hopefully get some easy transition baskets while the other team is jogging back or while they're a little fatigued, then I think we can, get a chance to steal some baskets. And if we do those things, we got a chance. I went to Loyola and I have an economics degree, and so I have a little bit of analytics background, and I think that we can win. You can win some margins, right? I think that's really important. I think if you can win the rebounding margin, and if you can win the turnover margin, all of a sudden you're going to shoot the ball way more time than your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And if you shoot it way more times, you got a better chance of making more shots, right? It's not that more difficult of a formula. It's hard to do. It's hard to actually go out there and do it in the games.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a crazy analytics formula. It's just we're going to try to get way more shots than our opponent. And those are the two margins that you got to try to win to do that. And I think pressure defense helps with that. And I think if we can, control the backboards and really, really work on that, then, we can get a lot of shots around the rim and hopefully score a lot of points.
Just talking about those sort of extra possessions, like obviously they've got really good players to help with this too, but you just saw UConn this year, like sending 5 guys to the glass and things like that, and trying to really get even just 1, 2, 3 extra possessions during a game. The margins are so small sometimes that just doing that once can have like a swing, effect on the whole game. So I think that's really interesting to hear about.
It's amazing how many games come down to 2 or 3 possessions, right? Yeah. There's like 2 or 3 games a year that it doesn't matter who you play, you're going to lose, right? Yeah. You don't have it that night. Yeah. It's just, you're probably not going to win that game. And then there's 2 or 3 games, like if we're playing the Lakers, it doesn't matter. Like we're going to make a million shots and we're going to win. But the rest of the season comes down to 2, 3 possessions. And if you can beat 2 or 3 possessions better than the other team, where are you going to steal those? How are you going to do that? Are you going to be a team that gets to the free throw line a ton? Are you going to be a team that never turns the ball over? Are you going to be a team that gets really crashes the glass and still finds a way to not give up transition baskets? If you can do those things, you got a chance to win a lot of games because that's what they come down to.
It helps to win basketball games to have good players also. And you always hear coaches talk about OKGs, our kind of guys. What's your kind of guy? Like, what are you looking for from a player? Are there any like obviously pass dribble shooting is always good, but any intangible things you always try to look for or find with guys you're recruiting?
Yeah. Personality matters. Fit matters. Like I like guys that love basketball, and everybody says they love basketball, but people who are excited and enthusiastic about the game, that when they come to practice, they smile and they talk and they laugh and they joke. Like
they want to be there.
They want to be there. They don't. And they show it. The other guys might want to be there. They just don't have that personality. I want guys with zest and life and personality to them, and that we can mess around and joke, but also really, really work hard. I talk a lot about joy and having fun, but also for me, it's fun with focus, right? Like we're gonna have fun, but we're not gonna be goofy. We're not gonna be silly. We got a job to do here, and so can we have a ton of fun? Can we be loose? Can we be aggressive? But also can we be focused on what we want to do? And so those are when I'm evaluating a player, yes, he's got to be good enough, right? That's a obvious thing, but he also has to be my type of guy. As far as his personality, he's got to have fun. He's got to love to be out there in the middle of the season when everyone says they're grinding. He's got to enjoy that. He's got to enjoy that. He's got to really embrace it and have fun. And we're going to do that. I've worked out with these guys for a week, and I think they've enjoyed the looseness, but they're realizing that you can be loose, have fun, and still have attention to detail. Right? Sure. We're not so loosey goosey that we don't care about the details.
Exactly.
We're just finding the levity, the brevity, and enjoying what we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when it becomes this total slog or grind the whole time, I don't think you get the best out of anybody. So being able to foster an environment where guys still feel that, the rough part of the season, that's always huge for teams, I think. And you can tell which teams are having fun playing games too. And shockingly, those seem to be the more successful teams. I don't know if that's chicken or egg. Winning is helpful too, but it's probably a little bit of both.
Well, winning is fun. Winning is fun.
Xavier Lipscomb talked about how when you were recruiting him to Radford, you wrote him these sort of handwritten notes and things like that. Is putting that like personal touch on things and having that sort of personal connection with guys even more important now in sort of this transfer portal era where you basically guys can leave after any year and you have to recruit your whole team at all times. So is that something you really try to focus on, is just kind of having these deeper connections with guys?
Yeah, that's why I coach. I am a relationships person. I love building relationships one-on-one with somebody. That's what wakes me up in the morning. I'm excited to get to know these guys on this team, to get to know their families. It's funny because I'm definitely an introvert, right? I
Mhm.
don't love big groups. I don't love to go to the amusement park and be there all day. Like I am
Sure.
exhausted. Like little kids camp is a lot of fun, but at the end of those days, I am
Crushes you.
done. And then I get myself back and we do it the next day, right? And I love doing that with the kids, but it's like that's not, but but what I really am about are those small individual relationships and
Mhm.
helping to get to know people. And so I think that in today's day and age, it's helped us at Radford and UNCG, especially, be below the average in guys transferring out. Sure, it's
Yeah.
going to happen some, right? I
Sure.
mean, that's the nature of it.
Mhm.
But we've done a really good job over the past 8 years of focusing on the people, focusing on the relationships, and because of that, because of making it about them as people, we've been able to retain some good players. Yeah, when a kid can go from this level to the high major level, they're going
It's
to
tough.
do that.
Yeah.
I understand it's tough to get that guy to stay.
Mhm.
But when they're trying to go from this to make it a quasi lateral move, those
Yeah.
are the ones that I think we can avoid
Mhm.
if we really, really focus on the relationships and really focus on the people in the program and the people that are around the people that are in the program. And that's what I'm about. That's what I'm hiring people that they're about to be on the staff. And I think we got a good chance if we can do that.
You've kind of answered this in multiple parts already here. And I don't mean this just in terms of like we're going to make the NCAA tournament every year, but like what's really your vision for this program? Like where are you guys in a couple years here when you've got this thing rolling? Like what does this program look like? If you're successful at what you want to do.
Yeah, certainly, obviously we want to win a lot of games. That,
Sure.
that everybody does. But there's a group of guys in that locker room that really care about each other and pull for each other and are willing to sacrifice for each other. Like if we
Mhm.
can do that, if they're walking around here, if they're in the cafeteria and they're together and they're also embracing this community and they're willing to play a couple less minutes because it's what's best for the team, or they're willing to pass up a shot because their teammate has a great shot, then I'll feel like we're moving in the right direction. We've got an identity on the court. We've got a culture built on and off the court
Mhm.
that's focused on relationships, that's focused on joy, that's focused on development. If we can get those things built in, then I'm going to say we're being pretty successful, and I think winning will be a byproduct of that.
Yeah.
Assuming we continue to recruit really good players.
You've been a lot of places that have gotten better while you've been there and just been successful programs. And are those the things you've noticed that really helped make those programs kind of what they are?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely would put my own spin on it,
Sure.
but you know, Coach Smart taught us all so much. I was the black sheep of the group until this week. I was the only coach my last 2 years there that wasn't a Division One head coach.
Glad we
So it
fixed
took,
that.
yeah, I appreciate it, appreciate it, Brad. But he taught us so much about the relationship aspect of the business and of the
Mhm.
job, and not the relationship with the AAU coaches, the high school coaches. That's super important, obviously, but really the relationships with your players,
Mhm.
and that no matter what your job title is, your job description is to build great relationships with your players and to serve them,
Yeah.
and that is those are the only guys I've worked for, right? I've worked for Jamion and I've worked for Mike, and
Mhm.
those guys we learned what we learned, from Coach Smart, and it's that's our secret sauce. Everyone says, "Oh, how does Shaka get all these guys?" That's it. It's the people. It's really understanding how to build those relationships and why they're so important, and,
Mhm.
and just doubling down on it all the time. And so, yeah, I think that's why we've been successful everywhere I've been. And I'm going to try to do as much of that as I can here because I think that's what works in life, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to teach these kids when they get out of here, they got to be men that are ready for the real world, and they've got to be
Mhm.
able to withstand the highs and lows of real life. And I think that learning and modeling the behaviors of relationship building and caring about others that we're going to show as a staff, that's what carries them over to real life.
Being a talent evaluator applies, in the locker room and in the coaching staff and things like that too. And credit to Shaka that, all of you have been so successful and not just as basketball minds, but as people and motivators and things like that too. So it says a lot that that was such a successful group and that was there's something he was finding there and kind of the secret sauce there, maybe a little bit. Is there still like a VCU Final Four team like group text or anything like that? Are you guys all still in touch?
We definitely are still in touch. We are very busy, as you
Sure.
know. Uh, we usually all get together at the Final Four.
Okay.
Coach Smart has us all for dinner at the Final Four, and
That's cool.
there's a lot of former players now that are into coaching, and
Yeah.
people that have all worked together or with him at some point. It's become a pretty good group, but a pretty big group. But we have a ton of fun, and we all look back on those years together fondly. Obviously, the Final Four and the success we had, and then we've all kind of branched off and had our own success, but we hire each other. We stay connected. It's like we all are about the same things.
Yeah, that's cool. It's nice to find like-minded people because everybody wants to win in basketball and things like that, but you want to do it the right way, and everybody, I think's definition of what the right way is all slightly different. So when you can sync with people like that, that's really cool. One other guy that you've worked with, I got to ask about this because everybody in the DMV knows this guy, but you were at Loyola Maryland under Jimmy Patsos. Any good Coach Patsos stories for us that you're willing to share here? That they can be whatever
What's
rating
the
you want on
PG?
this
I was going to
program
say,
here.
what's
Yeah,
the rating level
yeah.
of this? No. Oh man, working for Jimmy. It was my first introduction to college basketball. Right, I get to Loyola, and I think that I think I'm good enough to play. First of all, the only reason I went to Loyola was because when I'm a junior in high school, it's Scott Hicks's last year, and they went 1-27, and I'm being
They
recruited
had
by
a rough
Division
stretch.
threes. I'm being recruited by Division threes, and I said, well, I can play. If I can't play at Loyola, I can't play anywhere.
Sure.
That offseason they hired Jimmy. I have no idea. I don't know the basketball landscape or anything. He completely flips the roster with talented players. A lot of them sit out that first year. So then by the time I get there as a freshman, the roster is loaded. Right? They won 14 or 15 games. I get cut. The next year I come back. I'm getting close to making the team. I get hurt, and Jimmy says, hey, and I just keep showing up. He said, you stick around and be a manager, basically. And I don't really know what that means or anything, but I wanted to be around the team and all that. And we get going through, and I'm around, and I'm enjoying it. And I think that was the year that I think so. That no, it wasn't that year. So then I make it through that year. I come back, and we were in the preseason IT the next year, and of course. Everyone remembers the Steph Curry incident from that
Sure.
preseason IT, but what people might not remember from a couple games. So we went to Boston College first, and in the first game we're playing Boston College, and the first possession of the game, I'm sitting in the very last seat on the bench. Jimmy is obviously standing at the front of the bench, and the first possession of the game, I can't remember who the official was, but he runs by and said, Jimmy, if you say anything, you're done today. And Jimmy's just like, he's from there, right? All of his
Yep.
people are there. And he just was like beside himself. He's like, I didn't do anything, right? Whatever. So ball goes up and down, gets a technical, like, 45 seconds into the game. And so he kind of like laughs, and he comes and just sits next to me. And the other assistant, Brian Blaney, I'm sure it was, stood up, and he's coaching the team basically, because Jimmy is literally sitting next to me at the end of the bench, and we're just chopping it up. And maybe 4 or 5 minutes go by, and the same official is on the wrong side of the floor, and he cuts across and runs all the way down to where Jimmy's sitting. And he said, I heard you. If you say anything else, you're done. And he stands up, he walks around the back of the bench and goes into the 6th row and sits with our AD for about a minute and a half of game time. And gets calmed down, comes back down, finishes the game. He's able to withstand the craziness. But just, I mean, it was always something. But he was able to, like, I don't know, he was able to motivate our guys so well. And he'll tell you as much as anybody. Like, Jimmy's not the greatest basketball mind in the world, but he knew his strengths, right? He had great emotional intelligence for who he was. A great motivator, great recruiter, great evaluator, great fundraiser, and put really, really good people around him. And you learn that when you're with people. Like, if you can know who you are, then you can know how to build your staff and how to, who are the right pieces you need to be successful. And so I learned that a lot from starting with him. As I got, you realize, why are we able to still be good? And it's like, okay, it's because Jimmy knows where he's good at, and he's able to put really, really good people around him to fill in those holes.
Yeah, I remember that game, and I didn't remember the whole context of it, but I remember him going into the crowd thing, and he's just like one of the all-time local characters. He's got the sort of Pied Piper effect. People kind of gravitate to him in the storytelling. So I figured
for
there'd be a
sure.
good one there. So
Oh
thank you for
yeah.
doing that. You started out there doing some video work. I think there's a long legacy of coaches that have started out as video coordinators that have gone on to great things here. So what it is about being in the video room that sets people up for success so well?
Uh, there's a couple things. First of all, it teaches you the work ethic that you need to be good in this business.
Mhm.
There is so many games to watch. There's so much prep work to do before it gets to the assistant coach
Yep.
that you learn that quickly when you're in the video room. And there's no shortcuts. You've got to watch the game.
Mhm.
You've got to do the work. The other thing that happens there is you watch so much basketball while you're working that job. And you think that that's obvious, but you watch so many games. You don't just watch your games. You don't just watch
Mhm.
the teams you're playing because you got to watch the other teams that they're
Yep.
playing. And so you're able to discover what you really like and what you think works,
Mhm.
and how other teams guard certain things, and you just learn the game at such a deeper level during that time when you're in the video room. And it's great for young coaches because you know
Exposure therapy, right? Like you see
I'm
everything.
chief. Well, I'm chief of all of them. Like I thought I knew everything when I was 23,
Yeah.
right? And I thought I had the game figured out. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I mean, Shaka will tell you that I was a know-it-all. I walked into his office on the first day on my interview. He asked me what I was going to be in 10 years. I said I was going to be in your chair, obviously. Like
Love
I
that.
didn't know what I was doing, but I thought I did, and so it helps you understand like there's so many more ways to do it. There's so many ways to be effective. How can I, you know, build a philosophy of my own that leverages all this stuff that I learned in that job?
Mhm.
And again, humble you a little bit to realize there's a lot more ways to do things than maybe you think is right.
Yep. I think that's the cool thing being around coaches too is like seeing them learn from each other also is like you can't have ego in those kinds of things, right? There's always something new and there's like a style du jour and things like that of what's working right now in college basketball and guys have to be adaptable. You kind of can't be stubborn about this is what I do and this is the only way we do it because it's just not going to get you very far.
No doubt, no doubt.
All right, a couple rapid fire ones for you, coach, and then we'll get you out of here. Just we've talked about you as a basketball coach here, but these are kind of more, I think, focused on you as a person. So, are there any things that people might not know about you that are you willing to share? A fun fact, guilty pleasure TV show, a hidden talent, any of those kind of things?
Uh, so usually when I have this question, I divulge maybe more than I should. But when I
Okay.
was in college at Loyola, I was working a summer internship in New York City before I knew I wanted to coach. Right, I
Mhm.
didn't know I wanted to coach, and so I was working an internship in the summer, get my economics degree. And one of my friends called me up and said, "Hey, you're not going to believe this, but I was messing around on my computer, and I got you a spot in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
No
But you
kidding.
have to go do it tomorrow."
Wow. Okay.
And so uh, you know I had no choice. I felt like as a 20-year-old working in New York City, I had to say yes.
You got it. Yeah.
So I went down, and it was like the last qualifier before the one on July 4th, and participated. Was a top amateur, 13
Okay.
hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes.
Not
Pretty
bad.
impressive to say
Yeah.
the least. Um, one of the more disgusting things I've ever done in my life. And afterwards, one of the professionals that's there came up to me and said, Eric Badlands Booker, if you're familiar with the eating circuit, came up to me and said he's about 6'4", about my height, but probably weighs 450 pounds.
Okay. That's a big boy. Yep.
And yeah, big boy. He came up to me and he said, "Is this the first time you ever done this?" And I said, "Yeah, I ended up here last minute." He said, he asked me if I wanted to train with him to be in the Philadelphia Wing Bowl. And at that moment, I had to make a life decision.
Yep.
Where am I going here? Am I going to stick down this road I'm in right now, or am I going to go be a professional eater? And I think now that I've got a head coaching job, I know I've made the right choice.
That's a real fork in the road moment. Pardon
Yes.
the pun there. So I think you've made the right choice, or we'd be having a very different podcast right now. But that's an awesome one. The whole point of this podcast is to tell just DMV stories and help get exposure for local programs and things like that too. But you've coached here before. You went to school in the area. We'll count Loyola as the DMV for this one
Nah,
here.
not quite, but okay.
It's fringe enough.
Yeah.
So any good DMV basketball stories that you have or come to mind, or guys from this area that you remember coaching against or recruiting or anything like that that you'd be willing to kind of share an anecdote about?
One of the coolest things about this job and being at the Mount, I think back to when I got here the first time, and literally on my first day here, I walked in the office and I got here at whatever 6 in the morning. It's my first day. I was making sure everybody knew what I was doing,
Mhm.
and at about 7:30, Coach Phelan walks in and sits down, and he's his body is starting to go,
Sure.
but his mind is so sharp,
Mhm.
and he sits down and just as he doesn't know me, we've never met, and probably talked to me for 45 minutes to an hour about,
That's cool.
just about basketball and life and
Mhm.
why the Mount has been so successful and what he was trying to do. And it wasn't complicated. It was just so simple. And it was like, wow, this place is unique. Like not many places have this. And that was, I hadn't that was my first coaching job and my first day, and I was in this area, and all that he had done here with camps and talked about all that stuff and all the players that had come through the Mount over the times that he was doing that, and it was like, okay, this place is unique. It has such a history in this area, and I can understand why they've always been good. So
That's cool.
the Mount is definitely got some DMV history and ties, and that was such a cool introduction to it.
Yeah, getting to learn from the Hall of Famer on the first day is not a bad start there.
Not
So
bad.
that's very cool. Uh, Coach, what are the social media handles? Where can we follow this journey along the way here? Anything you want to plug from your perspective, with the program before we get out here?
I mean, certainly, you can follow our program. It's Mount Hoops on everything, I believe. I
Mhm.
haven't actually been updated on that, but I think so. At least it was 8 years ago when I was
Yep.
running it. And then I'm DS Lind on everything that you might want to follow me. But no, I mean, I'm so excited to have this opportunity. I think that this is a exciting time for Mount St. Mary's University. It's an exciting time for Mount St. Mary's athletics. We got a new president coming in. We just got a new athletic director, and now we have a new basketball coach. And there's a lot of momentum moving in the right direction right now. And with us being in the MAC and just the time's now, right? I think we can make the Mount a destination for really really good student athletes that want to make this the place where they are able to reach their dreams. And we play really fun basketball. We win a lot of games, and come on out, check it out. It's like you said, it's not that far. If we're not in the DMV, we're DMV adjacent.
Yep.
Come check it out and come see them out in November, December.
It's really just that simple, right? Like it's good basketball, it's a cool place, and the team will be fun to watch. I don't know how anybody can kind of turn that down. So Coach, congratulations again. Thank you for doing this. We really appreciate the time. Look forward to kind of following this along the way here and checking in with you throughout the season and seasons, beyond this one. So thank you and good luck.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Enjoy doing it.
Of course. Yeah, anytime. All right, everybody, you know the drill. Rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Press that little like button for us if you're watching on YouTube. We're presented by betonline.ag, and we will catch y'all next time.